Hi, my name is Tøndel, and I will present this paper, Achieving Good Enough Software Security, the Role of Objectivity. And this is joint work with two colleagues, Daniela Cruzes and Gilje Jaatun. I'll just start with making a basic claim. Today, many software development projects, if not most, need to consider security. However, security is a secondary goal. Security is not the reason usually that you develop the software. It's something else, some functionality. And security is needed, but it usually adds to the development time and cost. So therefore, for a successful project, it's very important to kind of invest the right amount on security. So you get the security you need, but not a lot more. And as is illustrated by this axis, there are several levels of security possible. So you can, for some, it's possible to envision that you have no security, you have open doors, maybe some are fine with that. And another option is, of course, to have a lot of security, many security measures, really be good on that. And for some systems that's necessary, but usually you would need to be somewhere in between. And if we add cost to this, it's of course possible to spend nothing or just a little bit on security, or to spend a lot. And it could maybe be nice if it was so that if you spent a lot on security, you would also get a lot. But that's not necessarily the case. Of course, if you spend nothing or very little on security, you would probably also get very little security. So you just have too little. But it's also possible to spend quite a lot, but you spend it on the wrong things, and it does not really increase your security that much. On the other hand, you can be very efficient. You can spend on just the right things and do it very well and get a lot of security from not that big an investment, or somewhere in between where you get the security you need, but you're maybe not so efficient. Most projects would place themselves somewhere in this picture, but usually it would be hard to know what you have done, whether it's good enough, and also whether you've done the wrong things or the right things, the most efficient things. And maybe you can have an idea about this, but how to kind of know that this is something that people can agree on. That's of course an objective. And in order to explore this problem a bit, we've been looking to theory related to objectivity, mainly from a philosophy point of view, but also from qualitative research methods. And we built on work by Gilje, and he represents or explains objectivity in different ways. And some of those you can see on this slide. So objectivity can be viewed based on your judgment, that you have judgment free of prejudice and bias. So you remove prejudice and bias from your judgment, which is not fully possible for a human being, but at least you can be aware of it and take it into account and be more free of prejudice and bias in your judgments. Another way to look at it is to view objectivity as accurate representation. So if you want to understand something objectively, you represent it as accurate as possible. And this is something you can train in, but it also has a cost, of course, to do it very accurately. So it has to be balanced. Another way again is objectivity in procedure, which is what you would find in, for instance, a scientific method where you have a clear way to get to objective results. We have used these ways to view objectivity to inspire questions and discussions related to objectivity and good enough security. And some of the questions we have identified are the following. So if we look at the claim, we have good enough security, is this a falsifiable claim? And also when it comes to accurate representation, well, what is that? What's accurate enough given the varied roles involved and often complexity of projects and maybe technology, and which point of view should be included in this accurate representation? And also when it comes to prejudice and bias, this is often intertwined, I think, with security work. So maybe an expert comes to a project and has the belief that the security is not good enough, and this can impact, of course, what this expert also sees in the project. In the paper, we discuss all three of these. I will focus on two of these in this presentation. But before moving into these questions, I'll just say a few words on our research method. Because this is an emerging results and vision paper, and we have not yet done a study which really studies objectivity and good enough security. But our work and what we state in this presentation and in the paper is based on extensive experience on software security research over many years by me and my colleagues. We have all been in this field for, I guess, more than 10 years at least. And the last 5 years, we've been working on a research project called SOS Agile, where our main approach has been action research, but we have also used some other qualitative methods. And we've been working very closely with 3 companies over longer periods of time. But we have also been working with other companies for shorter and more focused studies. And all of this we build on in what we state in this presentation and in the paper. So if we move to this first, or one of these questions, is with this claim, we have good enough security, is this a falsifiable claim? And this can be falsified in 2 ways. You can have, if you find you have too little security, or you can find you have too much security. And one way maybe to say that, well, we probably have too little security is if you have security incidents. But this is very reactive, and probably you need something more proactive. And then you could do other things. You can do code reviews and security testing and see what you find, or you can look at what security you have in your process, maybe compare to other companies if you use maturity frameworks or models such as BSIM or OWASP-SAM, or you can do risk analysis. And all of this can help you probably see that we are way too low. It can maybe give some hints that you are too high, but that's harder, because if you don't find anything, you would never know if this means that you have really good security or if it's good enough, or maybe you just looked in the wrong place, or you're not competent enough, and so on. Another way to see if you have too little is maybe to look at legislation like GDPR or customer requirements on security. So if you don't follow those, probably you have too little. When it comes to too much, you could maybe look at any loss in competitiveness or broken deadlines, but these are very indirect measures of software security, and too much software security. It can be caused by many other things. So yeah, it's probably somewhat falsifiable. It's possible to state after the fact that the security at some point was too low, at least. It's maybe harder to know if a project invests more than necessary on security, and also probably if you're doing good enough, or if the same investment could have been put to better use. So yeah, maybe a little bit falsifiable. If we go to the second question, what is an accurate representation? When do you know you have an accurate representation? And In the paper, we also use this question, can you see something you don't have knowledge about? Because in a project, there is usually many different individuals with different competence and different interests, and you maybe have a security expert or a developer that's more than average interested in security, or you have product owner roles or other management type of roles, and some are maybe interested in other entities, and all of these may have different view on the security in a project, both how good it is and how much you need. So which understanding is the most objective one? Is it the most common one? Or maybe since objectivity and representation can require skills and training, maybe it's you should listen more to the security expert. Or maybe not, because maybe this expert can see maybe too many security issues, or at least more security issues than you would want to fix from a business perspective. This expert maybe does not see other perspectives. That's also important. So yeah, finding what's an accurate enough representation is also a challenging question. So what is the way forward? Based on our discussion of and viewing this through the lens of objectivity, we point out 3 important ways forward. So to include a variety of perspectives, to build interactional expertise, and to support confirmability. So if we take this first point, to include a variety of perspectives, this is something that is to some extent already done in a lot of the security work, where you think like an attacker, but there may be other perspectives that also should be included, like developers, operations, customers, managers, and so on. A bit related is this build interactional expertise. And here we would like to point to a quote that is almost 10 years now, no, almost 20 years, by Ravi Sandhu. And he stated about good enough security that we are completely clueless about what is good enough. Business people cannot tell us because they don't understand security, and security people cannot tell us because they don't understand business. We must close this divide. And this is something that we also see in our interaction with companies. And one example can be the product owner role, and this can happen in other roles as well. But if you have a product owner role that's not so into the technological part, and maybe don't feel knowledgeable about security, then it can be hard to engage this person in security discussions. But it's not only this role that needs to kind of understand security. Also, you need security people and security-oriented developers to be able to communicate well with the product owner on security and discuss also the business aspects. And then third, to support confirmability. This is something that comes from recommendations on qualitative research, that you keep a research record of what you did along the way. And this is something we can do for security as well, to keep a record of judgments and decisions that are made, as well as their rationale. And this doesn't have to be a heavy documentation job, but it's something that we can document and keep, so it's possible to go back and discuss our judgments. Well, to conclude, more research is needed in order to provide agile-friendly and concrete method support on achieving objective judgments about what is good enough when it comes to security. And we pointed out these 3 ways forward, which we think is a good first step or a good direction to go for achieving this. Thank you.